All right, good evening. Somebody was asking for a tutorial on kind of how they're doing some pen blanks, laser engraving. So I'm going to do a quick rundown. This is actually the second time, the first video on my phone. I think I ran out of space or time or something, so I'm going to try and go through this real quick. I've already done all the setup, so I apologize for skipping some of this stuff, but still wanted to kind of talk through my process. Basically what I'm doing here is I've got a customer who has ordered multiple of the same blanks. So as you can see here, this is one that's already done. So I'll try to get out here. There you go. So if you can see it on here, it's kind of like a camouflage pattern throughout the lettering. So it's a little bit challenging. But so in order to do that, I'm trying to find just the right balance and setting for the engraving itself. And on the first one here, it's a little bit lighter than the second, but he still said he liked it. I basically what I did there, that setting was, I'll show you here, 20 power. And the first one was 10 milliseconds burn time. The second one, I wanted it a little bit darker, so I did 12 milliseconds, and I think that one turned out just right. So I'm going to do the third one the same way. As you can see here, the image itself, I wanted it exactly 15 millimeters because that was a good size for at least the pen, the blank that I'm putting on these pens. They're going to be bolt action pens. And as you can kind of see in there, you can kind of see the camo pattern in there as well. So basically, oh yeah, and the last other thing too is you can see the image is pushed all the way over to the right. That's because when I'm setting it up here, I've got it kind of all the way out here. Let me turn the light on. Sorry for the mess. If you do it all the way in the middle, which is where the image will kind of start, then you would have to screw the bolts on and stuff onto your jig all the way over, and I don't do that. I'd rather just scoot the image over so that I can just barely put the blank on towards the end of the thing. I've already got it set up and prepped. I've measured. What I'll do is I'll take a ruler just to kind of make sure. So after I've done my what do they call that? Basically your outline. This image right here where got the little box. When you hit that, it'll start kind of spinning around, showing the outline of where your image will be on the blank itself. When you hit stop, it'll recenter itself right to the very center of that image. So I wanted to have a small mark on the blank itself kind of covered up. So I have it spun and set exactly where I want it already. So I'm ready to go. Sorry, like I said, I was going to show, or I already tried to show, but I ran out. One final thing I'll do is if I, just as a perfectionist, sometimes I'll eyeball it, but on these what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll measure and make sure that, my center dot there is exactly in the center. So in this case, it's exactly 50 millimeters wide. So 25 is where I want my laser. And I've already bumped the image to make sure that it's exactly in the right spot where I want it. So that should be centered, ready to go. On this one, these are cherry blanks that I picked. So it's a fairly light wood. I've done these on others. Some woods I've done at 40 power with 10 to 20 millisecond burn time. Those seem to be pretty good for me. One thing that I'll do is I'll always have kind of like a test piece of wood around. Let's see if I can show you here. And as you'll see on some of these, I've made the mistake of not, sorry for the shaking here, I have to do this on my iPad. I've made the mistake of not writing down the size or the power and stuff like that. I do have a little notebook that I try to do that into, and you kind of make mistakes and learn. And so sometimes I've had to go back and redo my test to find out what was working right because I forgot what I did. Also, sometimes like that, don't tread on me right there in the middle. Sometimes you'll get a repeat customer or somebody else that liked it and asked you to do it again. So I had to kind of go back and I forgot to write down the settings. So I'm going to have to go and do another test on that one again. Pretty sure I have a guess of what it was, so it shouldn't be too bad. But these are just different ones that I've done. Usually it's on, like I said, cherry or maple, something like that. One thing I noticed, at least on this one, another trick is to actually test it on the blank that you're actually going to use before you turn it down. So on these I actually did, when these were just square blanks, I did a test on them. The issue that I had there though is, like I said, this very first one, I was happy with the settings when it was flat. But when I did this after I do a fine sanding down to 400 before I come in and do a laser engraving on them. And once it was sanded down, it actually came out lighter than it did when it was kind of even on the smooth side of the square blank. It still was a little bit lighter than the original test. So I'm ready to hit go here. Hopefully this was helpful. If not, shoot me a message or ask a question either on Facebook or whatever. This is Nathan McDonald. Have a good night, guys.